Right, it's Ashes cricket time again. We're going to Headingley this week for the third Ashes test between England and Australia. England, of course, still 1-0 down in the series after that draw at Lord's, but there's plenty to be optimistic about as we head into this match at Leeds. Nick Friend is with me. Nick, what are we expecting from this week?
I guess, from England's perspective, a very different week to the one they had at Edgbaston, and probably one more similar to the last couple of days they had at Lord's. Certainly, because the absence of Steve Smith is obviously huge for not just this game, but for the series and the whole dynamic of the series. England, having seen what Jofra Archer can do, will be very confident of the next 5 days. For Australia, they know they need to win one of three, essentially, and they can take the Ashes home with them. So it's a huge game, I think, not only for the scoreline, but for that whole dynamic. If England can start well at Headingley, can get some runs on the board, or roll this Australian team early without Steve Smith, of course, it may well change the whole series on its head.
We've heard a lot about concussion and the impact of it over the course of recent days and of recent weeks. Smith missing out, bad for the Ashes, but good for cricket. Is that something that maybe we can take out of this?
It depends. From a concussion perspective, yes, it's good for cricket that the game is learning. It's learned a lot in the last 4 years, or 5 years now. From obviously the freak accident with Phil Hughes, and we've seen a lot since Jofra Archer came into the scene. The effect his bouncer has, and and we've heard Travis Head in the last few days talking about the impact of the stem guard and how he's wearing it, and how Steve Smith has talked about how he's going to try and wear it just to make himself comfortable. They clearly know the importance of it, and I think the game and Australia have been very good especially in the last 5 years at championing the. Yeah, I guess the risk of concussion, the impact of concussion. It's for the series' sake, you'd rather have Steve Smith in it, but for the future of the game, for the safety of the players, and I think just for the game's reputation worldwide, this can't be a bad thing.
Of course, with Steve Smith out, that means Marnus Labuschagne is in, and we saw him do very well at Lord's in that brief stint in the second innings where he survived a blow on the head as well from Jofra Archer, made 59. So they're bringing in a very decent player in place of Steve Smith.
Yeah, they're bringing a player who's spent the whole summer playing county cricket, and he looked far readier for the rigours of, I guess, the Duke ball, the English conditions, for everything he faced really at Lord's than many of his teammates. He's a fine player. He looked very Steve Smith-like, and sort of the unflappability of the way he played the game, and maybe not his technique, but the way his mentality, the way he hopped up from that initial blow as Steve Smith did, wanting to carry on that Saturday when he did eventually come off. But it was a very accomplished innings. England know that he'll provide a test that I guess they perhaps weren't thinking he may well provide. Just think the mentality of having to come into midway through an Ashes test as he did and perform the way he did, and even his dismissal was somewhat unfortunate, deflecting off short leg into the hands sort of Joe Root one way or another, and he's a tough nut to crack.
He got hit on the head again in nets this week, as did Jason Roy, who's passed a concussion test this morning, so he's going to likely be featuring. What is it about this series that's bringing out blows to the head?
Fast bowling is certainly one part. It's certainly the major part, certainly in Jofra Archer's case, and we've heard certainly people talk about the impact of not just Archer's pace, but his action and how close he gets to the stumps. I think Alex Carey talked after the World Cup semi-final about how with Archer's action, the bouncer is never not hitting you, because he's so close to stumps, he's running up and bowling in straight lines. From Jason Roy's perspective, it's hard to say. Roy's the sort of guy who will take on the short ball. He doesn't strike me someone that's going to sway out of the way. Certainly the way he's played his white ball cricket. So I guess that's a risk when you keep your body in the way. I think Archer's been the major factor in the number of helmets he's hit since he came onto the international scene. Really, if you look back to the World Cup and Hashim Amla and Carey and the others as well, he's quick. That's all you can say about it, really, isn't it?
Yeah, right. And actually, the data does say that he's hit more bodies since his debut than anyone else in world cricket. So Jofra Archer is not someone that you want to be facing. For England, are we going to see a bit of a shift in the top order? Would you shift the top order around? There's a lot of talk of musical chairs.
I don't think they will. But partly out of stubbornness. I think if once you pick the same squad as they have done, I think you're backing the same guys, and you're backing the same guys to do the same jobs. And if you don't back someone at number 4, I don't see why I'd back him at number 2 in this England side that, frankly, is so accustomed to losing early wickets. Similarly with Jason Roy, they brought him in to open the batting. They've talked about how they want to see him open the batting, the job he can do at the top of the order, the Matthew Hayden effect, that kind of thing. And I don't see that changing. I think it'd be odd to change, to be honest, from mentality standpoint, it might make sense if you look at the fact that Jason Roy is not a red ball opener, and Joe Denley has spent a lot of his career at the top of the order, albeit not for the last few years. I don't see why I'd put two guys who are already under pressure into two different environments. I can't see them changing that particularly. It's
interesting though, because Trevor Bayliss has said this week, he said on Tuesday, that actually it is something that should be considered, that Jason Roy is more suitable to a middle order player.
But that was the case 3 games ago before he made his Test debut against Ireland, wasn't it? And they've backed him to come in at the top of the order in Test cricket, and they knew what they were getting into, and he's going to play at more balls than maybe he should at the top of the order in red ball cricket. He's going to nick balls like he did at Lords. He'll probably find odd ways of being dismissed, as in the second innings at Lords, and to be honest, in the second innings against Ireland when he was bowled through the gate by Stuart Thompson. Yes, it's something that should be considered, but it's something that should be considered a month ago, 2 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, when they've been looking for an opening batsman. So I think it'd be odd to change it now, regardless of what Bayliss might have said about those considerations. They're absolutely considerations, but they're certainly not new issues.
Australia, of course, have got an incredible array of fast bowling talent to pick from, and you'd expect to see a few changes over the course of this next 3 games, but particularly here for Headingley. Mitchell Starc has been bowling rapidly in the nets, and surely he comes in this test.
Starc's played a bit of cricket at Headingley as well, hasn't he? Back in his brief Yorkshire days. Stuart Clark is one that always comes to my mind when I think of Headingley Ashes Test, just nibbling England out in 2009, I think, when that bizarre first day, Matt Pryor was injured before the start. There were rumours that Bruce French was going to have to keep for the first morning if England had won the toss and bowled. But Headingley, it's just the sort of place where I don't know if I'd pick Starc, to be honest. I think their team's been really impressive. I think obviously James Pattinson will come back in. He was only left out at Lords, so he could come back in here. Peter Siddle's done what Peter Siddle does. It's been very unfortunate. He could have a load more wickets than he has done. And even I think the way Siddle's gone, and the way that England have played Siddle, would even tempt them by someone like Michael Neser. I know Neser's in the squad basically to play in the squad games against the counties, but the way that Siddle has bowled and the way that England have played Siddle, and the way the pitches have played as well, might tempt them with Neser. I don't think he'll play at Headingley. I'd be surprised if Starc does to a point, because Hazelwood was so impressive coming in. I certainly can't see them leaving him out. Pat Cummins is their man. Doesn't bowl bad spells. And James Pattinson want to bring back in, because he's their gun, isn't it? He's been out. He's missed so much cricket, and I think they've now got him. They've given him a rest because they want him for this series. So I'd be surprised. I just can't see where he fits in, Starc.
And what about Sam Curran for England? We're going to find a way of getting the Surrey 21-year-old into this team. I'd
be surprised if England changed. They tend not to when they play well at one venue, and I think Jack Leach was very good at Lords. And sort of Joffrey's certainly playing. I mean, whether they go with Curran over Wokes didn't bowl very much at Lords, which is unusual, I guess, given his record there. He probably wasn't his best, but you'd like to think he's got credit in the bank, having rolled Ireland a few weeks ago. I can't see Curran play. It will probably mean that Curran plays and Starc plays, but I'd be surprised if either left arm had come in at this stage, to be honest.
Okay, and one last thing then, Nick, a prediction from you, please.
Oh no, I don't do predictions. For the series' sake, England, if Australia win it, the Ashes gone, they said. You'd like to think England, they're not going to have a better chance with Smith not being in the side, of course. The psychological boost that should give them if they can get through the top 2. Add a responsibility on David Warner. It's sort of feel like Warner will come good, having not got runs for 2 games, and suddenly Smith's out the side and the pressure's on him. You wouldn't be at all surprised to see him go big. Marcus Harris might come in for Bancroft as well, so pressure on him as well. You've got to fancy England's chance in Smith's absence.
There you go. An England win. Bring on the Ashes.